Hello, my name is Tom Cohn and I promised to do a video about my career, and I also said it's probably going to be fairly long because it's been more of an adventure. I started out in Hull and my first work experience was work experience. It was with what they call then the Youth Training Scheme with Hull City Council, and it was graveyard restoration, and we really did go in and clean up the graveyard sites and make them more places for contemplation, whereas they had been quite badly vandalised. From there, that really motivated me to get a job, and I walked around Hull City Town Centre until I found somebody, and that was Frank Wardby, and he interviewed me and gave me a job at Astral Sports, which was part of the House of Fraser. I started out as a retail assistant and worked my way up to becoming an area manager down in London. From there, I went on to Nedin and Peacock, which was cash and carry. I also worked my way up from being a non-foods buyer to spearheading the Northern development. From there, I went on to Taylor Woodrow, or Greenham Trading, which was part of Taylor Woodrow, and that's the construction industry, for direct sales experience. I was then headhunted by Clive Hudson, who ran a small firm called HT Supplies in Goole, and we helped supply local and large firms industrial consumables. My brother then approached me to help him with his business, CD Engineering in Hull, and he was a steel fabricator. I say was, he still is a steel fabricator, even though he should have retired. At the same time, some friends and colleagues were getting together to start a business importing motorbikes from America. So I became a director of Bone Dome. From there, I felt I had enough experience of enough different things and enough creative ideas to start my own business, Cohn Business Services Limited. And that was as a business consultant or small business advisor. And I went on to win the contract for the Rural Development Commission. Now, in rural areas, they have businesses just like in urban areas, except there's lots less people and lots less footfall. So it's the same challenge, but much tougher. I then was asked to help Lincoln and York, who was one of the clients. They invited me to help their wholesale team, and the target was to get them to $1 million in sales. And I did that, and then left Lincoln and York, which is in Brig, and started expanding my consultancy service to start digital marketing, because it's much more focused. And I knew that digital marketing was coming around the corner, so I was the first person to register the limited company. I think it's about 20 years ago now, something like that. And that was a consultancy service, but also it was product development. So I worked with the Rural Development Commission, One North East, Business Link, Yorkshire Tourist Board, Yorkshire Forward, and it was quite an adventure. I worked with an awful lot of businesses, a couple of thousand really in the years that I did that, and learned to think on my feet, learned to help people, learned to find out what their problems were, and then come up with solutions. There was no point in trying to be a consultant in Yorkshire and not coming up with solutions. You have to get on and get the job done. You can't be doing flowery talk and clipboards. But also the world of marketing was changing, so the actual role itself was changing and evolving because the internet had been invented. And so I would make digital products, I would use digital means of promoting them, learn the ropes, and not just tell people or explain to people what they could do. I was doing it, and so I could demonstrate what I did. And that led me really to what I consider to be the far end of digital marketing, which was video and video sales. It's the universal concept that anybody can have a camera back in those days, and anybody could promote themselves around the world. One web page is the same size for Microsoft as it is for my little business. And I worked with some students, some really talented lads and girls, and we made digital products. So I've got some here for show and tell. Things like how to use mobile phones, which was quite unusual to have a DVD where you could watch it, learn how to press the buttons and move on, because the manuals were back in those days were very small writing, and you trying to hold the phone and do something was very difficult. That led on to understanding how to take screencasts, so we actually did a tool on how to use the technology. I mean, it's all available on YouTube now, but back in those days it absolutely was not. This was also a very successful product, learning how to use Sage. Sage was an accounts package back in those days, and it was fairly challenging. And also there were aspects you could use of Sage that the accountants didn't tell you. They just wanted the details. They didn't tell you how to use it for understanding the marketing potential in the account information. And then I got my big hit, which was how to fold exotic napkins. Now, that sold around the world. It was the world's first DVD napkin tutorial or video. There were videos out there, there were books out there, but there wasn't a DVD. And we all take it for granted now, but when you watched a VHS video in those days and you press pause, it would shake and you couldn't actually see what was going on. But with a DVD, you could actually press pause and you could go frame by frame backwards and you could follow how the hands were folding. The video, parts of the video, the promotion of the video are still on YouTube to this day. Please don't order any because I don't have the production facilities anymore. And that was done at Jack Chew's restaurant in Hull. That was a really interesting project. And from there, I sold that many. I put a press release out saying world's first napkin folding DVD, and it went crazy. I was on radio interviews in Australia, Canada, Norway, all sorts of places wanted to do a radio interview because it was an interesting topic. And sales were worldwide, and I learned a really interesting discipline. You can't imagine how many individuals there are worldwide when you want to sell a small thing like that. So doing business in your local town has changed. You can actually go on the internet and sell small amounts of things but to a large audience. And it was very efficient, but not that efficient. It cost me, I think, £1 to put the product in and package it up entirely, plus postage, and was sold for $14.99. So it was a profitable business. But it showed me that the next step was coming, which was putting video straight on the internet and keeping ownership. YouTube had by now developed, and it was an interesting time. If you ran a business and you wanted to use video, let's say it's a car business, you want to use video, and you put your video on YouTube, they would very carefully and very cleverly surround your car video with other car videos because that's what the viewer was interested in. So suddenly your video was now helping to sell your competitors. So I created a system where if you wanted to put your video on the internet, we could host it for you. And that was the world's first software as a service video platform. And using Amazon S3 to host all the videos, and we had Easy S3 that did the technology. Well, that still runs today, and it was $20 a month, and has been very successful. It was so successful that I used the money from there to buy the software which secured the accounts to run video, and that software is called MemberGate. So currently I own those two companies. One is Easy S3, which is part of digital marketing, and the other is MemberGate Limited. And so that's where we are today. That's my experience in commerce, and there are one or two more bits to share with you, I guess, but that should be enough. I have been in my career a problem solver, a creative thinker, and a solution giver, and that's really how I approach this parliamentary seat, this opportunity. It's about being your voice. See, the interesting thing for me is that I won't have a whip. I won't have to answer to the party. I answer to you. Now, they want me to call you the electorate and the voter. Well, in my head, you'll always be the customer, and the customer's always right. So when there's a vote going on in London and Westminster wants to do this and that, I'll be talking to you guys because it's your voice in Westminster. So vote for Tom, your voice in Westminster.